Y'all, we live in difficult times. There's war, political unrest, the pandemic, poverty, families being torn, communities ripped by gun violence and people dying every day. Police, injustice, it's all bringing so much pain. But y'all, we can look inside our minds and we can understand who we are, become better, and do this thing like we've never done it before. But it all starts with our mental health, and I know we can do it. I believe in you because I believe in me, and I believe in us. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Therapy is Life, where thinking, feeling, and experiencing well-being is what we do. Hi, y'all, folks. It's been a minute, but we here. Today, we're going to be celebrating hip-hop, and you don't stop. 50 years, y'all, right? We're going to be talking about mental health and hip-hop. We're going to try to bring this together. Today, I got with me Jamal Boyd, better known as
Maul G.
Maul G.
Yes, sir.
We also have B.K.A Watts, our producer, also a guy who thinks he knows hip-hop.
For sure.
So does Jamal. Of course, you got me, Gerald McGee, clinical therapist, social worker. I don't know that much, but I'm here. And Niesha Perry, clinical therapist, the director and CEO of Trumpet Counseling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
And avid hip hop connoisseur.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. All right. Y'all, we want to talk about hip hop and we want to talk about mental health. We're going to bring this together. We're going to start off by just having a little discussion about our top five. What is your top five?
You want to start with me?
Yeah.
Let's
My top five?
Yeah.
All right, so my top five, I just wrote this list because sometimes it evolves. But right now, in this present moment, I'm going to have to say LL Cool J.
At one?
No, this is not in top.
Okay.
No particular order.
Just asking.
No particular order. LL, Nas, Andre 3000, Q-Tip, and Lauryn Hill.
Oh, love that. Yeah.
It's my top five MCs of all time.
Yeah. Listen, I'm feeling you, man. You got something you want to say about that, BK?
I ain't got a word to say. I have nothing for you.
You have nothing to say.
Yeah,
That
early
He's stressing my mental health out already.
we had early conversations about the LL piece, so I know it's conflict
I ain't
there.
gonna lie to you. I think I'm more offended at the Lauryn Hill.
Oh, not to mention, I think she sold over 1 million albums or something like that.
That's
Man,
great.
the miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Man, come on, man. That's a
Put an MC in front of her. That's all I got to say, and let her go at her best.
And she be defecating on the microphone, right?
Yeah.
Did you hear her?
Yeah.
Did you hear her?
Sure enough.
Come on, man.
You right.
Lauren,
So-
Queen Lauren, my brother. We
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Man, okay. You want me to go next? Or you want to go mine?
No, it don't matter.
I can go next.
All right, go
man.
ahead.
Oh my gosh, man, this is a toughy one for me because when I started thinking about it and everything and who I like the best, I gotta say of all time, I gotta put 1A, 2A, Tupac, Christopher Wallace, Biggie. Gotta put them on Busta. Gotta put him on the list. Kendrick Lamar and Eminem.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a strong five.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's a strong five.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Ladies first? You want?
Ladies first?
Yeah, okay. Let me get Hove. Uncle Hove. The Jigga Man himself.
Respect.
You feel me?
Hard Knock Life.
You feel me? Let me get the M and the M. Let me get Marshall Mathers. Let me get Dre 3K. I'ma also need Busta Rhymes, and we gotta round it out with Black Thought.
I'm mad at Thought. Thought crazy. I ain't
Super
mad at Thought.
crazy.
I ain't mad at Thought at all.
I ain't even mad at Thought at all. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Strong 5.
Strong 5.
I appreciate it.
All right.
So me, don't judge.
Okay.
We won't.
I have to go with Nas, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole,
Middle child.
You going crazy like that.
Tupac, and did I say Jay-Z?
No.
No.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Strong 5.
Strong 5. It's a strong 5.
Strong
Thank
5.
you. Thank you.
Look,
I made it through the first test.
gotcha. So yeah, so thank you guys for celebrating with us today and talking about hip hop. I think hip hop started in August 11th, 1973, with a DJ by the name of DJ Kool Herc.
Cool Hurt.
Yeah, and so he was the first person to use 2 turntables to put a beat together and do some mixing. Let me ask y'all, what do y'all think are the fundamental components to hip hop music when it started? Obviously, it started in New York City, but what were some of the fundamental components? What did you have to have in order to have hip hop? We got to have an MC, right?
Well, I mean, but shit, we didn't even have him in the very beginning, so
Right.
it's like MC came along, and became like the thing. But you gotta have your MC, you gotta have your DJ, you gotta have especially in the beginning, the art. You had to have the graffiti, you had to have your break dancing, in general, and I am missing one.
Graffiti?
Is it 5? Did you
think it's
name?
5.
Yeah, so you said beats, rhymes,
Yeah.
graffiti, break dancing. Would you say
MC?
I'm gonna say, would you say? No,
Well,
the rhymes is the MC. Would you say the DJ? The DJ.
the
But-
DJ?
Yeah.
I would also say style though.
Yes,
You
definitely
know,
style.
like
For sure.
dress
For
and
sure.
clothes and stuff
Definitely.
is connected with hip hop for sure.
Yeah.
You know what
you're
I'm
right.
saying? Every era is the dress has been just as influential with hip hop.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? What they wearing. So
Yeah.
that's the elements of hip hop for sure.
Yeah, you're right. Y'all remember, I don't know if you saw those movies like Break-In and Beat Street, Electric Boogaloo, all that stuff. Beat Street, the king of the beats. Like, y'all see that?
I was actually just watching Breaking 2 the other day, like a goof, and I was just looking at how terrible the when when the broom levitated and the strings was connected to his hand. I was like, oh damn, this was bad, but all right, it's still fire though.
Terrible, that's my boy.
Yeah. Because they had it was a video they had him recreate the scene, and so he came out and did the whole thing, and it was dope. Like just recently, you know what I'm saying, he stretched that jacket out, but he did it though. He got it popping.
Gotcha. That's what's up. Thank you for sharing that. Ask you guys, what do you think of some of the early music influences of hip hop?
Well, I would say, as we was having this conversation earlier, when you talk about the forefathers of hip hop, you got to think about one, James Brown. You have to think about James Brown as being like the original MC, rhyming over beats and drum loops and stuff like that. So I would say Jim Brown for sure. James Brown, Cleveland.
We in Cleveland.
That's Cleveland. Jim Brown.
We in Cleveland.
No, James Brown.
Gil Scott
Heron and the Last Poets.
for sure.
You know what I'm saying? Those two poetic aspects of it, because poetry, spoken word, definitely connects to it. And then when you was talking earlier about the West Coast influence of funk, I would say George Clinton, the Parliament Funkadelic sound, that is a core foundation of, some influential sounds of hip hop and jazz music.
Yeah.
Jazz within itself was kind of like a similar genre of outcasted type music that I feel like hip hop artists were influenced similarly like jazz artists were influenced, to kind of create their own culture and style, that was not popular at first and then became what it was.
Gotcha. Of course. I would say one of the original poets might have been Satchmo. Why do I feel so black and blue? Like
Satchmo Blue, yeah.
That's right.
Talking on the record like
Talking
that.
on the record like that. The blues and speaking words about life and experiences.
Cab Calloway.
Yeah, Cab.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like they were essentially doing rhyming over records, you know?
Yeah,
Exactly.
for real.
Rhyming over music.
Man, Cab Calloway got joints to this day. Like, definitely got joints.
So I feel like, and then you said disco sound
disco,
too,
disco.
a little bit, for the more popular sound of it, I think it birthed from that too.
Yeah, Secret Hill game, right? Kimosabe.
There you go.
Apache is timeless. That still go up in the party today.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. So thank you guys for sharing that. I want to ask y'all, we've been talking about hip hop, and obviously we want to tie it into mental health. So what do you think about some early, focus on some of their early songs. What do you think is some early songs that may have talked about life and some of the struggles that we have as people, knowing that, hip hop emerged out of the city of New York, in parts of the city where it was minorities, African Americans, of course, and that we were struggling. Mm-hmm. And this music emerged, and not just talking about things that made us feel good, but in the sense of talking about things that made us feel good, it was also talking about our pains and our sufferings. Our realities.
Right.
Can you guys think of some songs, or let's talk about some songs that might have reflected some of this?
You got to start with the message, just because, it speaks exactly to everything that you talked about. It's called The Message. You know what I mean? Like, it's right there in your face, and it's one of them first things that gave an insight into what it was that we were experiencing and going through, our people were experiencing and going through, and took it mainstream and spread everywhere. So it became a thing where you may not have known before, but once that was there, you couldn't ignore it or act like you were not at least somewhat aware of the type of things that was going on in our communities. And it was a extremely impactful joint, which is why it hit the way that it did. And it connected. The reason it resonated so much, because it was like somebody in New York can hear that and feel like this is my experience, but somebody in LA heard that and it's like, that's my experience too. And somebody in Atlanta heard it and that's my experience too. We in different places, and now we have something that's connecting us, because we didn't have the internet to connect us like that back then. Right. But to have music that could resonate and hit and spread everywhere is why it became such a major thing.
Yeah, agreed. Message, you got to start with the message. I was thinking about songs like, who was it? Houdini, who came with Friends.
Yeah.
Like just really talking about transparency, about like life issues. You know what I'm saying? Talking about what a true friend is to somebody. Like, not many of us have them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And really just talking about like reality rap. You know what I'm saying? Not more so just party music, but issues that just people deal with on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, and I don't know, when you said the influence on the West Coast, I think Ice-T was probably like one of the original people talking about the street culture and what was going on in the LA scene.
Yep.
So I can't think of the name of the song. You said as soon as he was done breakdancing?
Oh yeah.
Right, yeah.
We ain't forget Tracy.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those songs for sure.
Yeah. So, when I think about that, don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. Yeah.
You know what I always wondered?
What?
Was, did he write on the paper?
Did he write that?
Did he write that on the paper?
Did he write that down?
We'll give
my
him
God.
at least freestyle credit on that, man. Like, he had that freestyle.
Man. That was such a tough time, man. And it sounds like people who were overwhelmed, they're going through a whole lot.
Yeah.
You got to think about it, though, in that era, too. In that particular era is when the crack epidemic hit.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So our neighborhoods, the ghetto urban environments were devastated from the crack epidemic, and so they had to have a outlet to be able to speak about what was going on and how that influenced and devastated communities that was once, thriving and once a lot more family oriented, how that destroyed families and stuff like that, how the streets influenced what was going on, you know what I'm saying, on that side.
Because a lot of what we saw in, like, we saw movies like
New Jack City,
when we saw movies like South Central, when we saw oh my God, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society,
all the hood classics.
All those movies were reflective of things that was happening in the 80s. And even right now, when we talk about how bad gun violence and stuff is, I mean, if we go back and look at the data, man, it was bad in the 80s.
Yeah.
It was rough, man. I think, by the late 80s, we was calling black men an endangered species.
Yeah, which is wild. That's when I came out. You know what I'm saying? Like a new mixtape.
Yeah. That's when you came out with
that's when I came out.
You came out.
I was born in 87.
87?
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of times we don't think about that. Yeah, so those songs were very, very powerful, man. Is anything else about that area you think is important in giving us a foundation of how rap would move and talk about our problems and our issues?
Well, just from the issue aspect of it, are you saying like where it exposed, like, I mean, because you still had certain elements of that early rap that kind of talked about, I would say some overly sexualized stuff a little bit, there were certain elements there where you had, kind of like the street, the pimp, gangster scene was kind of birthing a little bit and that just a little bit, because when you talk about LL, for instance, right? And look, your eyes cringe when I said LL. Yes. But when he was talking about, he was influenced off of like the drug dealers, right? The people like, so there was a part where they talked about the struggle, but then there was a certain element of glorification for the people who was selling the drugs too, seeing them be the flyest ones with the gold chains, the gazelle glasses, the whole style that all the street gangsters was really wearing at that time. Hip hop was influenced with that too. So there was a certain birth of the glorification of the people who was messing up the community too, at the same time. So I think, like I said, go to the West Coast. Ice-T, a lot of his stuff was, speaking from, I'm the drug dealer, I'm the pusher, I'm the one who's kind of doing this and kind of making that start to look cool.
Right.
Yeah, but that's a level of acceptance. When you go through a traumatic experience early on, it was about like the trauma, the devastation, what it's doing to the community. Right. And everybody was like rapping about it in that way. And then it becomes, it's not going anywhere. We accept it. So how do we like conform to it now? Instead of seeing it as such a bad thing, all right, well, what's the good that's coming out of it? Even though none of it was really good. But, culturally, we are so resilient that we find a way to make it work. Right. So it's like, okay, well, our communities are being, torn apart, but also the people who are selling it are able to give back financially. Right, you look at New Jack City. Yes, he was Nino Brown as a drug dealer, but he was handing out them turkeys. Right. It's like you helping people out in the community, and paying people's bills and helping out the grandparents and things like that. But the underlying issue was not being resolved. Right.
Yeah. And then too, thinking about when you talk about that early 80s period, so then we were talking earlier about like people like KRS-One, right? So KRS-One started with a group, BDP, who came up with the album Criminal Minded, right? So Criminal Minded was basically narrating and telling people the perspective of a drug dealer and what was going on in the streets from that perspective. But then towards the later part of those 80s, he kind of even evolved from just talking about the street part to becoming more political and putting it on where the government and the society that we live in is the reason why this is why it is. You know what I'm saying? Kind of more so speaking truth to justice, you know, on why our people are now in this epidemic where we got crack in our communities and, you know, people strung out. Well, it ain't just us doing it. It's somebody oppressing us, and it's a stem from, you know, the oppression of oppressed people in this country.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so being that voice.
Right. You know, I always thought that, you know, being African American, we always found a way to make things happen. And we'll take the little bit that people give us and we'll find a way to create something rich. I mean, think about it. I mean, this may not make sense to y'all, but look, man, we invented chitlins, man. We took the worst part of the pig and we made it work for us, man.
Right.
So, resilient.
Hey, and seriously, I remember when I was a kid, man, I'm in the house, man. My mom made some chitlins. I smelled the stuff. And it didn't smell right to me. She put it over some rice. And I remember I ate all around the chitlins, all the stuff, because I just didn't like the way it smelled. They smacking it. And then I stop and I'm like, well, I'm down to the chitlins now.
I would have stretched and went to bed. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate y'all, man. This is great.
You ain't put no hot sauce on it, though?
No, I ain't put no hot sauce on it, man. I ain't trying to mess up my appendix, man. I was like 6 years old, man. I remember that. But seriously, man, like evolve and moving into the 80s, because, you know, and obviously thinking about some of the and moving in farther into the 80s, that I guess we might consider the next era of rap music. Well, I think they might call that the new school era. Run DMC and that. What is some of the songs? What are some of the messages you think was being presented about mental health during that era? I think you already talked about some of that though already.
Man, listen, that's where we got Rakim, bro.
The first thing that comes to mind is a visual. An Adidas jumpsuit. A bucket
Yeah, for sure.
The whole visual.
Right.
Yeah.
I need to break out my cardboard, you know.
Like that's where we started to get the real adoption of other stuff. Like Run DMC with my Adidas. Like, it was going crazy. That's when it became crazy. Like, yo, they like that. We all like that.
Right.
Like, going crazy. Like, that was so for the Young Bucks. Before y'all all went crazy for the Air Force Ones when Nelly dropped. You know what I'm saying? Everybody went crazy for the Adidas. With Run DMC, you know what I'm saying?
And they shell toe Adidas, man.
Right.
That was
the classic shell toe going crazy.
Well, yeah, I think too, like, that's the time frame when corporate America started seeing that you can market things through this music. You know what I mean? Like, in the beginning parts, they ain't even, like they say, they ain't even think hip hop was gonna last 10 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but now at this point, they doing sold out arenas. They going worldwide. All these teenage kids is going crazy for the music, and they seeing like, oh, these rappers have influence.
Right.
You know, we can market stuff through them. And yeah, like you said, they had all the kids in America wanting a pair of shell toe Adidas.
Yeah.
And so
black, white didn't matter. Everybody.
Yeah. So yeah, that influence of style and seeing where hip hop can market stuff, I think started birthing in a whole crazy way in that era for sure.
I mean, let me ask you this: do y'all think the craze about tennis shoes in general started to blow up during that time?
Yeah.
People started getting ridiculous about shoes.
No, they definitely started getting ridiculous about shoes. You know what I'm saying?
Mark, what kind of shoes you got on?
Huh?
What shoes you got on?
Actually, these are Adidas. I have on a pair of Yoshi Yamamoto Shiku runs. They are Y3s by Adidas.
That's fire.
Who's the creator? Who's the creator?
Yoshi Yamamoto. Yep. Yoshi Yamamoto is a designer who collaborated with the fine white folks at Adidas.
Just an example.
You know what I'm saying? Yep. So, but I mean, and that's crazy because he done so many different joints, and that's influence of this brand that in touch from here to the east and all the way back. So yeah, Adidas definitely been out here, and that definitely started the shoe craze. I would agree. I would say the first fight over somebody stepping on somebody's shoes had to be a pair of Adidas. It's almost as statistical. It got to be. You know what I'm saying? It got to be.
It definitely started with the Adidas for sure, and then late 80s when that man Michael Jordan hit the scene.
Yeah, boy. Oh my God.
And them Jordans hit. It was different, bro.
Like, different, man.
They were killing.
I remember watching
over those shoes.
Oh yeah,
right.
Chilling, robbing, and also the felines, man. When the felines first came out,
Fila line.
Had some Grant Hills.
Grant Hills was a must.
Okay.
Grant Hills was a must. Deodore. Troop. British Knights. I don't know if you remember the British Knights, man. Like
British Knights, man. The PF Flyers.
The Reebok pumps. We were talking about the pumps.
Yeah, we just got done talking about the pumps, man.
Oh, and don't forget about the Pumas.
The Pumas, you know.
Yeah.
That's B-boy. That's B-boy style right there. That's what all
Pumas
the breakdancers
was big B-boy style.
And they had the suede ones. So they had the suede ones back then too, man.
Absolutely.
And the guys were wearing with the breakdancers were wearing with the fat shoestrings, man.
You had to have the meaty laces.
Some fat, bright neon colors.
So kind of tying that conversation back to the mental health piece of it, right?
Right.
I know for me, you know, it influenced my mental health. Like now, I'm elementary school age, right? But to go on Rap City and look at the rappers wearing those shoes, and then for me to get them and put them on my feet, it changed my whole mind frame, because now I feel like it gives me like superhero powers, man, to have these shoes on my feet. You know what I mean? Like I got the same shoes that I seen, you know, Kid and Play wearing. You know what I mean? I got the same Jordans he got on. So now I'm walking in school feeling the confidence of the rapper now. You know, that gave me that confidence, that self-esteem for myself. When before having them, you know, I had to beg my mother to get me some name brand shoes. Like she used to take me to Payless or I forget the other name of the store, Tom McCann, you know, and get the knockoff versions. And I wanted the real versions. And, you know, kids was crucial in them days. They was clowning you if you wasn't,
you had on them buddies, you was getting cooked up.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I know for a mental health piece that it gave me maybe a false sense of confidence, but it was definitely a level of confidence that came with dressing like the rappers, you know.
Yeah, and it definitely negatively impacted you if you didn't have those things and you couldn't get those things, and then that affected the circle you was in. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Everybody over here got the Jordans on, and you can't be over here with the BS. You got to go somewhere with the knockoff. You know what I'm saying? With the Avias on, exactly. You got to go away, bro.
The XJ 900s, man. That's what they was called, man. The knockoff J's was the XJ 900s.
You couldn't be over here with those. Like that'll get you picked on. It'll get you laughed at. It'll get you beat up. That's seriously crazy. Like that became a thing, that them status symbols. Like I feel like the introduction of status symbols into our community is something that's an underrated negative impact on our community.
For sure.
Is the way that we treat people based on things that they have or can't get or can't afford, and you feel like you supposed to be better than somebody because you can or you got it. Especially as kids. Mm-hmm. You broke. You ain't got no money regardless. Like you only got them because your parents could afford them. That don't make you special. I mean, your parents went to work, bro. Like, and that's it. But as kids, we're stupid and don't understand those types of thoughts. Judgmental and
in a little box.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I remember this song, Rejects, $1.49. Rejects, make your feet feel fine. Rejects. You wore some of those shoes, man. That's what we call you, Rejects.
But what were some of the lyrics? You know, we think about mental health with the Run DMC and the other, you know, I'm not really familiar with everybody's names, but okay, say them out. What were some of the lyrics that really expressed some of their mental health and some of the mental health issues in the community during those times?
Well, you know, like I could give an easy one, you know, just as far as like going back to groups that I felt like spoke to truth to power was groups like Public Enemy, right? So Public Enemy coming out with a song "Fight the Power," you know, and the lyrics of "Fight the Power." I can't quote them verbatimly, but if you read the lyrics, it's almost like Huey P. Newton speech. You know what I'm saying? Like he's sitting there on the podium, you know, basically speaking real truth to power and really speaking to how this corrupt system has oppressed a group of people and how, you know, it's affected us. And so, like I said, I can't quote the lines right now verbatimly because I got too many lines in my head right now. But it was those type of lyrics that I felt like I think they looked at it as a threat, you know, to where they wanted to bring the social norm over, you know, controlling the hip hop music as it evolved.
Absolutely.
You know, that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, you definitely had them with those types of records with Fight the Power in itself was crazy because then you had it kind of shifted. It went from that party music, then it went to, you know, then you started to get like, you know, more intricacies with the lyrics, and then actually started to outside of it, because it's crazy to think that like outside of records like The Message, it wasn't really that many of those,
right,
by comparison to how much it was just party, good time, feel good, kick it music,
Curtis Blow style,
right? And then eventually to get to, you know, later into the 80s and then going into the 90s where it started to become like, hey, like now we know we got a voice, and these are the things that we feel, and we gonna speak about what we going through, what we experience, what we seeing. We're gonna speak about racism. We're gonna speak about. So it's like it was that time made a complete shift in what the music was, and then I feel like gave birth to what we really like, what would probably be like the golden era in the 90s, because then it became kind of a combination of the two, and you can go to any one group and get some of any of those flavors and speak to what we was experiencing. But something definitely shifted, and there's conspiracy theories, but something definitely shifted where it started to get maybe a little too conscious, a little too woke, a little too speaking on what we was going through, and making people start to change their attitudes and the way that they was moving and standing in solidarity. That really started to happen, and that showed us the power and the real influence of that music. And like Mar said, corporate America came and got them hands in there like, we gonna do something else.
Yep.
Yeah.
The segue artist though that I felt like it was between like the extreme conscious and then where it turned into like the gangster and all those elements came in. The one artist though that I felt like blew hip hop to the next level of stardom and world exposure was MC Hammer.
Hammer.
In 1990, right? That cross between 80s and when MC Hammer came out, he had that like almost Michael Jackson type.
It was crazy.
Pop appeal.
It was crazy.
You know what I mean? With him and Vanilla Ice, because Vanilla Ice too brought in that white.
He was like he was his foil. He was the white. You know what I'm saying?
If you ain't gonna feel Hammer, you gonna feel MC Vanilla Ice.
Message out here.
So then that exploded hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just that exposure. They went in Grammys.
Yeah.
So now hip hop is worldwide at this point. You know what I'm saying? Those artists I feel like took hip hop worldwide. So now hip hop is all over the map, and now even more so, corporate America sees, okay, we can influence and grab hold of. They got commercials. MC Hammer was on Pepsi commercials, and you know he all over the place. Movies stuff starting to come through crazy. You seeing it on everywhere.
Yeah. You're right though, because Vanilla Ice had his little movie. Then you had he did the Ninja Turtle soundtrack, bro. Like
exactly.
Now you got hip hop directly hitting the kids.
Exactly.
Like you got Vanilla Ice in the Ninja Turtles movie, not just on the soundtrack, but in the movie, doing the performance at the concert, and then being on the soundtrack and going even further up, even after the controversy and getting sued and all of that. Like, and that's when it really became so much a thing where people was like, all right, well, we was doing this conscious thing and we was talking about these messages, but like if we do that, we got a chance of really getting up out of here and getting to this money. And once that became a thing, then that's where that shift went from us speaking on us speaking on these messages to us speaking on whatever we had to.
Yeah, it became generalized. It was no longer just about our culture, but then it became generalized for everybody. Right.
Now we trying to make joints not just for us. We making joints for everybody.
Gotcha, man. That's some good stuff, man. Yeah. I gotta say though, in that time period, we were talking about the shoes and materialism, and actually our self-esteem being somehow influenced by the things that we had. Y'all was pointing to that. I think that, that was hitting hard in the 80s. Right. And obviously basketball and Michael Jordan and all the shoe stuff, it really was hitting. That started hitting hard. I think we already had the issue with the jeans, because the design of jeans back then was already an issue. But now you had the shoes.
We always liked to dress good.
We always liked to dress good, but it just became more emphasized during that time. And look, that self-concept thing, I think, was so important. But now we move into the 90s. We might call it the golden age, the age of Pac, the age of the Notorious B.I.G., the age of so many others, man. What's y'all thoughts on that, man? What's some of y'all favorite songs from that time? And obviously, how do you think it they talked about mental health issues, of course. Thank you for listening to us. Today, we're going to wrap up this episode on hip hop and mental health. I hope you gain something from this. If you like what we've discussed, please like us, add your comments in the drop down box. You guys have a wonderful day, and we'll be continuing this discussion in our next episode.